And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit, like God's property. It's hard to market, so we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. 'Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient is there. That's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time,
But
all that he said.
no, we don't have.
So many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of
Yes.
notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
Black people can't be anti-Semitic. We are Jew. You understand what I'm saying? We are Jew. So cool out. Until you do your facts, until you really do the facts with the fake indoctrination that y'all put into the schools and all that, you know what I'm saying? We're not following y'all rules.
The entire Bible is about black people. Not only was Jesus black, but every character in the Bible seems to be black too. Yeah, Zephaniah and Jeremiah and Jebediah, those all aren't white people names, okay? And Jesus wasn't some tan, partially melanated Middle Eastern person either. I'm talking straight up black dude, okay? Even in the book of Revelation, when you get the vision of Daniel, he's describing someone with feet like burnt brass and white woolly hair, and we've got the deep running water voice with the red eyes, and you guys, he's black. The Jewish people are black people, like Kanye was right.
Their bones were discovered in Kafse caves near Nazareth in Galilee in 1933. 13 fragile skeletons, one a woman, a tiny baby at her feet. When these bones were first uncovered, they were the oldest complete modern human skeletons ever found.
The numerous skeletons that have been found in caves in Israel at the sites of Kafse and Shkul show us that there were modern humans outside of Africa over 100,000 years ago.
Anyone ever heard of the word anti-Semitic? What's that mean? What does that mean? Against who? Against the who? Say it one more time. Against the who? If you're anti-Semitic, you're against Jews. Where'd that come from? You know, anti-Semitic, the word only goes back to the late 1800s. As it relates to being anti-Jewish. Now, okay, now, don't throw your rocks at me. But how is it that only white Jews get to be referred to as Semitic? But how is it that only white Jews get to be referred to as Semitic?
But how is it that only white Jews get to be referred to as Semitic?
So we're supposed to we're just being told that anti-Semitism is now criticizing Israel. Anti-Semitism is anything they want it to be. They can't even define it. They admit in this bill that they've passed through the House that there's really truly no actual protection for Jews, but they're just making it up as they go because they want to say, well, but Semites, which we shouldn't even be using that word anymore because most Jews who practice the religion of Judaism or who are culturally Jewish, even if they don't practice the Jewish religion, but they're culturally Jewish, like many are culturally Christian. Many of us celebrate Christmas, but we're not Christian. That's cultural Christianity. It is what it is, right? They can't define it. They're putting all these rules on us. We shouldn't even allow them to use the term anti-Semitism. It's not real. Most of these Jews are not Semites.
You can convert to Judaism. You can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
Today, I just had a rabbi give me an analogy. He said, look, imagine you left your home and then someone came and occupied it and then you try to get it back and then they went to the judge. Have you heard some of these analogies? Maybe you can.
Yeah, that's assuming that, you know, that's taking it into a place which I don't usually go. That's making the assumption that today's Jews are really the descendants of the ancient Hebrews that used to live in that part of the world some 3,000 years ago. That's making the assumption that today's Jews are really the descendants of the ancient Hebrews that used to live in that part of the world some 3,000 years ago.
Here's what I would like to say to you, Rabbi, since you're quoting scripture, okay? The one that's relevant to me is woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. And if you'd like to dive into a little more scripture, I think what's relevant is Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie.
Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie.
And I'm speaking.
And you know what else, Jim? I just want to say this to our Christian friends, you know, just to call it as it is and say it straight out, you know, you guys are worshiping one Jew. That's a mistake. You should be worshiping every single one of us because we all die for your sins every single day. And that's exactly what's going on here. Yeah. We're all God's firstborn. We're dying for your sins right now because the Jewish people in the land of Israel are the bulwark against the orcs. Mm-hmm. Okay? The orcs are coming not to a theater near you, but to your home.
We're going to take back our country and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
And we're going to make Israel great again.
We're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before. They don't pay rent. The city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out, and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately. We are the party of common sense. I knew that once they had open borders, all of the countries, I didn't think about all over the world. I thought in South America, it's all over the world. Last week, a lot of people came in from the Congo, a big prison in the Congo in Africa. Welcome to the United States. They came in from the Congo. They came in from the Congo.
This world and the next world are asymmetrical. The next world is where the majority of a person's actions, which determine his identity, are compensated. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black, are excluded from the world to come.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them. With the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah, with
the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Wanted to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. Let me turn this sound down a little bit, this volume down, because it's pretty loud. All right, there we go. Hope and pray all is well with you guys. Hope and pray that you guys had a great Shabbat. I know this is not a scheduled live, so my apologies, trying to get back on track, but been preoccupied with some other things. Many of you guys already know that we are in the process of securing land. So we are prayerfully within the next few weeks, we'll be able to close out on the property. We got great news. They accepted our counter offer. You know how that goes. So the next step is, getting an actual date for closing. So, we're just preparing for that, but also coming up with a layout of how things are going to be positioned on the land for us, the structures. We just look forward to it. It's a lot that we're doing. And once we get to a place that we get phase 1 complete, we'll set a date. The goal is to have phase 1 complete by Tabernacles, and prayerfully all is well if everything goes well, and the Most High just blesses and we're able to get that done by the Tabernacles. Of course, we will invite all you guys to be able to celebrate with us. So been really preoccupied with that. You guys already know too, YouTube has been doing their thing with the shadow ban. They've given me a strike and all kinds of stuff, man. So they've been doing a lot to suppress what we've been doing on this channel. So I'm just trying to at least not get so consumed in what I'm doing and forget about coming doing these lives. So I know the notifications are not going out, and I know that they have been unsubscribing subscribers. I've been getting emails from people stating and asking questions, why did I unsubscribe them, and all kinds of stuff. So they've been doing a lot with the channel, but we're still going to just press through and do what we do. We're going to continue to do what we do. The Most High has the final say. The word is going to get out to whom the Most High really wants it to get out to. But nevertheless, tonight I thought I'd do this lesson. We had a great lesson at last Shabbat. YouTube on our backup channel been doing some crazy things, and for last week we were not able to record because YouTube kicked us out. But this is a lesson that I taught last week about the 144,000. The 144,000. And I really want to teach you on the 144,000. I see a question here that really I'm going to answer that question. Hey, brother, how do we know if we are a part of the 144,000 elect? So I'm going to really give clarity to that question, because I know that when I was younger, I remember when I was like 12, 13 years old, and I was reading Revelation because I used to participate in Bible competitions. They called it the Bible Bowl, coming up in the Baptist church. And one of the things that I did to have an advantage over my competition, I read the Bible. And I remember reading Revelation, and I came to Revelation 17, not 17, but chapter 7, excuse me. And it scared me because it was like, wait a minute, 144,000, that's it? I really didn't understand it at that time. And I went to some of the ministers and elders at that time, and they really couldn't give me the answer that I was looking for, And so even with that, it was a lot of confusion. And I'm sure that you guys may not understand, what the 144,000 is, but we're going to give you proper clarity, because you see the 144,000 in Revelation chapter 7, but then it's mentioned again, which is still a continuation of chapter 7 in chapter 14. So we're not dealing with two different groups. So we're going to answer the question, and I'm going to answer some other things to show you how to systematically answer who is the 144,000 and how all of us tie into it as being the people of the Most High. So let's go and get into it, family. Again, really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for the love and support. And also, I will drop the link. I'm going to pin it for those that are interested in attending our Passover, our Pasach. We have rented, or leased rather, a campsite. So we'll be there for 3 days. And that's what really triggered me to say, you know what, it's time for us to secure our own property, because, the monies that we spending on this campsite, this would be the second time in 6 months spending money there at this campsite. And we don't charge for any of our feast days. So we really come out of pocket for all the costs. And so between the tabernacles and Passover, Pasach, we spent almost $10,000 at this one location. And my logic was, enough is enough. It's time for us to secure our own property, clear it out, and we'll go from there. And the Most High has blessed us to be able to have the opportunity of securing 17 acres, just under 18 acres of land. But again, if you're interested in coming and attending the Passover, the Pasach, come on out. Come on out. Again, it's all about unity among us, among Yah's people. And there's a lot of things that are going on to deter us from honoring the feast days. And we're going to use the feast days to help give you clarity on the 144,000 and then some. So let's go and get into it, family. Don't want to prolong, but just wanted to at least put that announcement. And matter of fact, let me see if I have the email up here, and now we'll drop. Yeah, I'm going to drop the link inside I'm going to pin the link inside the chat. Let me do it real quick if I could get to it. All right, let's see here. If I could get to the email, just saw it here. All right. I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to pin it in the chat. So that way, if any one of you guys want to attend, the information is in the chat. Let me pin it right now. All right, let's see here. All right, here we go. All right, let me remove it. Let me do it again. All right. All right, there we go. That's the Passover. That's the registration is there. There's a link for you to register. All right, I'm pinning it to the top of the chat. All right. Really appreciate you guys. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it, family. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, let's get started with this. The great multitude, because I'm going to give clarity on the great multitude and the 144,000. Okay, we're going to really go deep with this here. And yet we're going to keep it simple. The great multitude and the 144,000. But I want to start off this lesson with a couple of doing a little house cleaning, and also, kind of setting some parameters here, because I know oftentimes, especially when I do certain teaching, especially like this, sometimes we can get, our brothers and sisters can really forget that we're supposed to be a cloud of witnesses, and they'll post profanity inside the chat. Family, whether you agree or disagree, we are supposed to be each other's brothers and sisters, and we are supposed to be the reflection of being Yah's chosen people, right? So I want to say this: please do not post any profanity inside the chat. Moderators, you already know we don't tolerate profanity. So if anyone posts any profanity, you guys already know what to do. Okay? Don't be a distraction, and do not allow any distractions shift your attention, because you have some that will jump into the chat and they'll try to hijack the chat by having the conversation go to a place that we're not even covering. So again, do not be a distraction, and do not allow any distractions shift your attention, right? Remember, listen with intelligence. If anyone start posting any crazy stuff, type in listen with intelligence. And moderators, you guys know what to do. All right. Remember, we are not each other's enemies, regardless of our differences. Let me say that one more time. We are not each other's enemies, regardless of our differences. Right? We have that contentious spirit that's in this awakening, not just in this awakening, but in the Christian Catholic sectors. And, it's very standoffish, everyone trying to debunk one another. No, it's all kinds of craziness. But in this awakening, we all, we're going to have certain differences, but we are still brothers and sisters, right? So regardless of our differences, we have to remember we are not each other's enemies. The disciples didn't agree on everything, right? They had their differences, right? And things got a little tight with them, right? They got, things really got elevated with them, heated with them. Moses had to deal with it. But anyway, we are not each other's enemies, regardless of our differences. All right. I know I shouldn't have to do these disclaimers, but I'm going to lay it out. I want to do these disclaimers. I want to just set the tone. Okay. All right. Now, you guys remember this clip here, and I'm going to play the actual video so that way you guys can understand where I'm going at with this. This is going to help set the tone for the overall lesson. So I want you guys to listen closely to the truth about DEI, because oftentimes many recite things or quote things and really don't even have a clue about even what DEI is. And this is why you see a lot of the problems or the complaints, right, in the Republican Party, the Democratic parties, on both sides of the aisle, the independents, the MAGA. Listen closely. You're going to understand why you see, why things are the way it is, that so many are having buyer's remorse when it comes to this administration. All right. Listen closely to what she says, this woman says about DEI and who benefits from it.
How is it possible that white men are the second biggest beneficiaries? It just blew my mind.
Did you find out why that was?
Well, I mean, it's hard to kind of track down because I don't have access to the statistics anymore. And I would have done a much deeper dive into them. But the reality is that when you're talking about diversity, so many people think white and black. Mm-hmm. And that's diversity. But talent is everywhere. It's in all kinds of overlooked communities. And
Yeah.
white men happen to belong to some of those communities. So if you look at who benefits, white women, white men, Hispanics, Asians, Native Americans, disabled people, and that's not just people in wheelchairs, it's neuroatypical people, people on the spectrum, people who, are dyslexic, have the Spilkus, ADHD, followed by veterans, LGBTQ and alphabet people like me, and at the very bottom, Black people.
Or community. Number one was white women. Number two was white men. And keep in mind, those two at the top, right? You'll see them also, the majority in the LGBTQ community. You'll see them, the majority, especially the men, in the veterans side of things, as well as you heard on the list, disabled or disabilities, right? So number one, the white woman. Number two, the white man. Number three, they said the Spanish community. Number four, the Asians. Number five, it was the veterans. Number six, disability. Number seven was the LGBT, the pronoun community. And last on the list, our community, right? But because of Daniel 7:23, that fourth beast, people are made to believe that it's something totally different, that the ones that actually benefits from it is our community, right? Let me play these clips, and this all ties into the overall message. Here we go.
That's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now thinking about that.
You want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
I'm
saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring, and what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else. And there are things where you have to go by brain power. You have to go by psychological quality, and psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden, and Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had two planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened, and we'll see. We're going to look into that, and we're going to see. But certainly for an air traffic controller, we want the brightest, the smartest, the sharpest. We want somebody that's psychologically superior, and that's what we're going to have, yeah.
All right, so you heard what President Donald Trump said about DEI, and he was placing the blame of DEI on the plane crashes. You know, you guys remember the tragic accident that occurred up at, I believe it was the Reagan International Airport up in the DC area, right? So our face was put at the front of it so that way they can rail against it. But then when they actually start cutting the programs, cutting the DEI programs, all of a sudden, when they start cutting the veterans, notice what all that's on the list. So they start cutting these different programs. Who do you see at the front of the line complaining? We already know that we didn't benefit from any of these. We already know that we always get thrown up under the bus. We already know the system of man has us at the lowest end of the totem pole. So we already know. We already been dealing with this for decades. Well, not decades, but centuries upon centuries. All right. But nevertheless, let's go to this beast here, because this beast ties into the manipulations, the system of men, like religion, like Christianity, Catholicism, Islam, Judaism. All these are systems of men. The institutional race is the system of men. The politics, as far as the democracy, the communism, communists and all that other stuff, that stuff still all fall up under the systems of men, right? But let me show you the key attribute of the fourth beast. Daniel chapter 7, verse 23. Let's go here. And it reads, "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse." Shana'ah in the ancient Hebrew is how it's pronounced, or Shana, "from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces." Let me read it one more time. I hope you grab hold of this. And you guys know I've been teaching this for quite some time. "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse, Shana or Shana'ah, from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces." So again, which shall be diverse. Let's go to the Hebrew definition of this word diverse so you get an understanding of what this word means. It says to alter, change. You could also add the word manipulation, because when you're altering or changing, you are what? Manipulating. So this is the attribute of this fourth beast. Good at manipulating. It said that this beast is going to with the agenda of wearing out the holy people of the Most High, is going to think to change what? Times and laws. That's in verse 25. So to alter, to change, to manipulate, that is the key attributes of this beast. The scriptures make it clear that Hasatan is the prince of the air. That means he is good with manipulation. And we see this beast, we can see all these systems of men is very good with manipulating things, as you guys just heard and seen with your own eyes and heard with your own ears, the video clips that I shared. Okay, so now let's get to the 144,000. Who are they? Who are the 144,000? See, religion, which is part of this beast, which is part of the beast, right? That is the mark of the beast. Actually, religion is part of the mark of the beast. It is a system of men, right? And the attributes, when we deal with the fourth beast here in Daniel, manipulation. Manipulation, as I just pointed out. So who are the 44,000? Why don't the church really teach with clarity, with accuracy, the 144,000? Most cases, you guys, like me, when you asked that question, that was, pushed to the curb. It was brushed aside. It wasn't something that they placed a point of emphasis on. You really don't. If you came up in a Baptist church, you really didn't hear a lot of teaching on the book of Revelation. The primary books that you heard will hear them teach out of was, of course, the good news, right? But the primary books was Paul's letters, right? And I want to say easily 80 to 85% of the messages that you hear comes from Paul's letters. But who are the 144,000? And the reason, I know some of you guys probably asking the question, what's going on with the watchtower in the background? What's going on with the Jehovah's Witnesses? What's going on with these guys? Well, I'm going to explain to you guys what the Jehovah's Witnesses would say about the 144,000. Let's explain this here. So what do the Jehovah's Witnesses say about the 144,000? Let's break this down. This is coming from their watchtower, April 1st, 1986. Now, I want to point this out, right? When I was a kid, me and my brothers, my mother, she was going from religion to religion until my grandmother snatched us up and said, hey, we're going to be raised in the church. Because my mother was young and she was really trying to find herself when it comes to her belief system. And she had us in going to the Kingdom Hall. She also had us at one time, going to the the mosque, right? Had us doing, I mean, we was in Islam, we was practicing Islam. So that's why I'm pretty familiar with a lot of these belief systems, especially coming up where I came up at. So at one time I was a 5%er. Man, I dipped and dabbled in a lot by way of it being introduced to my mother, by way of my mother, but then of course being in the area that I grew up at. Okay, so this is the Jehovah Witnesses. This is their watchtower. This is their prophet. The watchtower is actually their prophet. This holds more weight than their Bible. This is a fact. And I'm going to do a special teaching on the Jehovah Witnesses. Okay, the founders. All right, but let's go to the watchtower, April 1st, 1986. It reads that 1914 marked the end of the Gentile times and the establishment of the kingdom of God in the heavens, as well as the time him for Christ foretold presence, that only 144,000 Christians will receive the heavenly reward. That's right. At one time, Jehovah Witnesses were calling themselves Christians, not just Jehovah Witnesses. I know for a period, they would just refer to themselves as Jehovah Witnesses, but yeah, they refer to themselves as Christians. So again, 1914 marked the end of the Gentile times and the establishment of the kingdom of God in the heavens, as well as the time for him Christ foretold presence, that only 144,000 Christians will receive the heavenly reward. I can pick that apart, just what we just read. But let's go to the Watchtower, April 1st, 1988. Let's see what it says here. However, a careful study of God's word and Christ's teaching shows that only a limited number share the privilege of being born again, born from water and from spirit, thus to share heavenly rulership with Christ. This is what they're dealing with, the 144,000 family. And it goes on to say, the great crowd of true Christians today do not need to be born again, since their hope of everlasting life is earthly, not heavenly. Let me read that one more time. The great crowd of true Christians today do not need to be born again, since their hope of everlasting life is earthly, not heavenly. Again, this is coming from the Watchtower. So according to the Jehovah Witnesses Watchtower, only 144,000 Jehovah Witnesses go to heaven, and these make up what they call the anointed class. Let me say it again. According to the Jehovah Witnesses Watchtower, only 144,000 Jehovah Witnesses go to heaven, and these make up what is known as the anointed class. So all the remaining Jehovah Witnesses are supposedly a part of Yahweh's other sheep and will live forever in paradise on the earth. Excuse the typo here. Let me say that again. All the remaining Jehovah Witnesses are supposedly a part of Yahweh's other sheep and will live forever in paradise on earth. So who are the 44,000? Because we're going to knock that down. We're going to knock down any poor teachings that you guys have heard about the 144,000, because there's some, even in the awakening, that really don't understand what the 144,000 is. And we're going to break it down. And this is not throwing shots at anyone, but just being truthful with it. So who are the 144,000? Let's break this down. Is the 144,000 a symbolic or a literal number? We're going to answer these questions. Who are the sealed? Well, many people have puzzled over whether this 144,000 is a literal number or a symbolic number or something entirely different. But we're going to answer the question with clarity. So the 144,000 must be descendants of Jacob, because they are sealed out of each of the 12 tribes of Israel. So let's go to Revelation chapter 7, starting at verse 1. Let's go to chapter 7, starting at verse 1. And this is going to give you the answer to who the 144,000. All right. It reads, and after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Now, here's the answer. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Yahweh. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. Here's the answer. Saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Yahweh in their foreheads. Verse 4. And I heard a number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Let me say that again. This is answering your question. So the 144,000, they are not Jehovah's Witnesses. This 144,000, they are not coming out of the Christian church. That 144,000 are not coming out of the Catholic Church, right? That 144,000, it tells us right here, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So these are Israelites. These are not converts. These are Israelites. These are not people who take the Paul's words out of context and teach as if Paul was teaching a replacement theology to say that, hey, all those who believe in Christ are now Abraham's seed. Christ never taught that. All right. So again, the 144,000, right, of all the tribes of the children of Israel. But it didn't stop there. It's going to give us clarity. Look at what it says here. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Aser were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. Tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000. So you get the understanding, out of all the 12 tribes, each tribe has what? A 12,000 from each tribe, which this is where we get the 144,000. So they're Israelites. They're Israelites. But we still need to go a little deeper here, and I'm going to explain that here. Okay? So till we have sealed the servant of our Yahweh in their foreheads. So let's break down this word seal real quick. From the Greek, it means to stamp, in other words, with a signet or private mark for security or preservation, to keep secret, to attest. Okay? But in the entry number 1 in the sub entries here, it gives us clarity, right? It says to set a seal upon, in other words, mark with a seal to seal. All right. Entry A, for security from Satan. Then it goes on in D, right? It says in order to prove, confirm, or attest a thing. But the key here is the sub entry to the sub entry is 1 where it says to confirm, authenticate. That's the key. When it says seal, it means to authenticate. Now we have to understand, what does it mean to authenticate? Authenticate with what? Because all of us have to have what? ID in order to what? Authenticate entering into whatever place of business that you may work at. You know, you have what is called a CAT card, right? You log into your computer, right? Those are all forms of what? Authentication. You have to put your password, right? But anyway,
The Hebrew definition of the word seal, right? Chatham, it says here, to close up, especially to seal, make an end, stop. Okay, so what are the 144,000 sealed with? That's a question that we have to answer. So we know that they're Israelites out of each of the 12 tribes, right? But now we have to get into another designation for these guys, right? They are sealed, right? 144,000, they are sealed. But we have to understand, what are they sealed with? Well, let me show you. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 11, chapter 8, verse 11 through 16 to get an idea of what these 144,000, what are they sealed with? All right. For Yahweh spake thus to me with a strong hand and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, let me read it one more time. For Yahweh spake thus to me with a strong hand, the Yod, and instructed me that I should not walk lakath in the way darak of this people, saying, say ye not a confederacy, quashar, to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify Yahweh of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. Verse 15, and among them shall, it says here, and many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken. Bind up the testimonies, sealed. There you see that word, kathawam, the law, tawara, which in Israeli, Torah, among my disciples, lamad. So you see that the disciples are sealed with the law. Let me say that again. The disciples, right, are sealed with the law. So guess what? The 144,000, they are going to be sealed with the what? Law, the law, statutes, and commandments. You can't say that you are part of the 144,000 if you're teaching against the law. Guess what? So that tells us no one in Christianity can say that they are, any one of them are part of the 144,000. Why? Because they all teach against the law. And we know, number two, they're not Israelites. But number one, just them teaching that, that they are not under the law, guess what? That eliminates them. Right? Just like with the Jehovah's Witnesses. They teach that we're not under the law, that they're not under the law. Their prophet is the watchtower. Guess what? That eliminates their entire doctrine. Right? So we can't separate the Catholics from it because the Catholics and Christians, they're connected. Right? So let's get the Catholics the garbage can as well. All right, family. So that's a major thing right here. Even the disciples, right? You cannot say you're a disciple and you're not sealed with the law and you're teaching against the law. Matter of fact, the lamad is the 30th letter of the Hebrew aleph bayat. And guess what? As you see here, disciple, lamad, disciple, numerical value is 30. Okay. So you cannot, again, even among the Israelites, if there's any Israelites teaching against the law, statutes, and commandments, they are not part of the 144,000. That's a fact. Okay? So Isaiah chapter 8, verse 11 through 14 is parallel to the challenges Judah and all of Israel face today. Right? I'm going to break this down. See, Israel rejected Yahweh. Isaiah described the coming judgment, right? Yahweh would send upon them the mighty army of Assyria because they rejected the gentle flowing waters of Shiloh or Shiloah given from him. Like the mighty flood waters of the Euphrates River, the war machine of Assyria would sweep across the land of Judah. The floodwaters would reach all the way up to the neck, in other words, Jerusalem, meaning that the waters would nearly, but not totally, drown the people. Assyria would be like a mighty bird of prey. Its outspread wings would spread its destructive power over all the land. But only Jerusalem would escape the coming devastation. However, the people behind its walls would experience terrible suffering. All right. So despite the judgment and devastation, Yahweh still possessed the land. Yahweh's presence guaranteed that he had not forgotten his people, the Israelites. So even in the midst of judgment, Yahweh would be with the truly obedient Israelites, strengthening us to walk through the judgment. Yahweh gave great assurance of deliverance to his people who did not waver. The nation of the world would raise their war cry against Judah. That's what we see happening today. But these nations would be broken, they would be shattered, they would be destroyed. They would plan their strategies, yet their plans would prove futile. So Emmanuel, right? Emmanuel, which means Yahweh is with us, right? Or Yahweh among us, would be with his people, right? Emmanuel, which means Yahweh with us would be with his people. I'm breaking this down. So let's go to the Hebrew definition of Emmanuel. It says here, with us is Yahweh, right? You see the word God, but we know we're dealing with Yahweh, Yah. Emmanuel, a type of name of Isaiah's son. But the key, this name means the Most High, yet the Father being with us. Okay. So despite the wonderful promise of Yahweh to be with his people, the vast majority still refused to turn their lives over to him. Now, I want to say this real quick, because, you know, many that are call themselves non-Messianics, they'll ask this question. Well, if Christ is supposed to be Christ, why is his name not Emmanuel? Family, the scriptures, the prophecies does not say that his literal name is going to be Emmanuel. It's describing that Christ will come in the reputation of Emmanuel, because we get confirmation in John chapter 1 when it says the word, right? In the beginning was the word, and the word was with, it'll say God, and the word was God, right? But then it goes on to say that the word manifested itself and became what? Flesh to dwell among us. So Christ became what? Took on the presence of the Most High among us, just like the Ark of the Covenant, right? The Ark of the Covenant represents the presence of Yah being among us. So I want to give you a little clarity on that. So the prophecies is he's going to come in the reputation of the Father, the authority of the Father. That's why Christ said, you see me, you see who? The Father. Doesn't say that Christ is the Father. That's when you start getting into Christianity with the modalism, when you get into that, you know what I mean? And you get into the Trinitarian doctrine, all that other stuff. No, Christ made a distinction between he and the Father, and he is under what? The authority of the Father. And Paul made it clear that Christ, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shah Hamashiach, is under the Father. He is submissive to the Father. The Father is his covering. Just like the Messiah is the man's covering, and the man is who? The woman's covering. So despite this wonderful promise of Yahweh to be with his people, the vast majority still refuse to turn their lives over to him. King Ahaz and his leaders still look to the Assyrians instead of to Yahweh for protection from the threat by Syria and Israel. Sadly, most of the Israelites in other kingdoms supported the pro-Assyrian party, but not Isaiah. Isaiah didn't stand for that. Sound familiar, right? Many of our brothers and sisters are pushing or promoting the Democrats or the Republican Party, the Independents, or whatever they wanted, whatever terms they want to use. They still think that these systems of men is going to save us. Many are trying to go to other systems, whether it's in the United States or outside the United States in other countries, thinking that those systems are going to save them. No, judgment is coming wherever people are. This is a worldwide system. Babylon is a worldwide man-made system. Judgment is coming to the four corners of this earth. All right. So Isaiah, he opposed all foreign alliances, placing his full trust in Yahweh and encouraging the people to trust Yahweh as well. So Yahweh issued a strong warning to Isaiah that he must not walk in the path of unfaithful Israelites. And family, this is the same warning to this day. We know that there's some Israelites in this awakening that are unfaithful. Don't pledge yourself. Don't be in the, don't, walk in that path. Separate yourself from that. You still, when it's all said and done, you have to give an account before the Father for your actions. The Father's not going to listen to you and say, well, this such and such said this and such said that. And I didn't know that they was teaching false. No, you're going to have to give an accountability for your soul. You have to work out your salvation with what? With fear and trembling. But too many of us are so haphazard when it comes to our walk that we will place our spirits into people's hands. We'll place our shalom. Some of you guys would say shalom. We will place our shalom in hands of people that are evil, that are wicked, and you wondering why you're going through such certain situations. No, Yahweh issued a strong warning to Isaiah that he must not walk, just like Isaiah. We must not walk in the path of unfaithful Israelites, regardless of that itching ear stuff that they may give you. Apparently, there was a danger that the pro-Assyrian party might attempt to convince Isaiah of what seemed to be the reasonableness of their position. Assyria was unquestionably the strongest power in the world at the time. If Israel formed an alliance with Assyria, they could seemingly be assured of Assyria's support when facing a threat from the other nations. So the leadership in most of the Israelites were failing to trust Yahweh. They had forsaken Yahweh, living unrighteous lives and engaging in false worship. And despite Yahweh's pleas and warnings to them, they had ignored him and were placing their complete trust in Assyria. Doesn't that sound like our brothers and sisters of today? Doesn't that sound like many of us placing our faith and trust in man? Have more faith in the creation than the creator himself. So the 144,000 is a literal number, right? So let's deal with another account of sealing, right? Let's deal with another account of sealing, just to give clarity and giving another witness of what being sealed means. This is Ezekiel chapter 9, right? Starting at verse 2. It reads, "And behold, 6 men came from the way and of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the glory of Elohim of Israel was gone up from the cherubim, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side." Peep this out. "And Yahweh said unto him, Go through the midst of the city." In other words, go in the middle of the city, go in the heart of the city, right? "Through the midst of Jerusalem, through the middle of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the forehead of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof." Man, we're knocking this thing out the park. So what is special about the 144,000? I mentioned to you that they're sealed with what? The law, statutes, and commandments, right? But we have to take it a step further. What is special about these 144,000? Well, I'm going to answer. To answer that question, you have to go to chapter 14. Let's see what's special about this 144,000. Look at what it says. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having the Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. No man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Right? So this 144,000 gonna have a song that only they can sing. That's what's very important. Let me break it down here. These are they which were not defiled with women. Uh-oh. Come on now. It says, for they are virgins. So we see that the 144,000, they are men who have not been with any women. Let me say that again. The 144,000, right? They are men, because it says here, these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. You know, in this awakening, you got some that are teaching that a virgin simply means a young girl, a young woman. Have you guys heard that before? When they try to say that, Joseph is the biological father of Hamashiach, right? They'll try to say, well, Mary was a young woman. She wasn't a virgin. No, family. No, virgin doesn't mean a young girl, a young woman. That's not what it means, right? It's a person who has not been intimate with the opposite sex, period. Whether it's a man or a woman. But look at here. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. That's why when you see defiled with women, this means that they were not with any women, right? They were virgins. When you look at John the Baptist, right? When you look at Christ, right? And Christ talks about the eunuch. The eunuch, he describes the different types of eunuchs. The eunuch, someone who dedicated their life to the Most High, who chose not to be married, who chose not to have children. Then he says you have eunuchs that are made to be eunuchs of men, in other words, castrated, homosexuality, right? Those are eunuchs. But anyway, let's continue here. All right, let me go ahead and let me finish this thought up. These are they which are not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Yahweh to the Lamb. Verse 5, and in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of Yahweh. So they were virgins. They honored the law, statutes, and commandments. And guess what? They also, it says, found no guile, right? They were not corrupt. Let's break this down. Let me show you what guile means. Let's define this with Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 13. Look at what it says about this. The remnant of Israel shall do no iniquity, nor speak lies. See, you can't even say that you're 144,000 if you're not a virgin. You got to be a man. And this is no disrespect to the women, because we see that the 144,000, there are men, right, that have not been with women. They are also, right, have no guile. In other words, it says here, the remnant of Israel shall do no iniquity. In other words, they're not bending and twisting the law, statutes, and commandments. They are not speaking lies. Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. Come on, family. This is the criteria for the 144,000. That's a fact, right? That's why these 144,000, these men are special, because they denied their flesh. They took the path like a John the Baptist. They took the path like Christ. They took the path like Elijah. For they are without fault. So what does it mean to be without fault? Let's break this down. To honor the laws, statutes, and commandments. I'm going to prove that. Let's go to Luke chapter 1, starting at verse 5. Let's go to Luke chapter 1, verse 5. You guys know where I'm going at with this. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abiah, and his wife was the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. So both of them are descendants of Levi. Both of them are descendants of Levi. You know, Zacharias is a Levite. He's a priest. And his wife, Elizabeth, she's also a daughter of Aaron. In other words, she's part of the Levites. Okay? So verse 6, and they were both righteous. Righteous means lawful. That's what righteous simply means. It means lawful. And they both were righteous, in other words, lawful before Yahweh, walking in all the commandments and ordinances, in other words, statutes, laws, that word is synonymous to that, of Yahweh, and they both were what? Blameless. This is where you get into the Hebrew word in the ancient Hebrew, tamayam, in the Israeli language, tamim, which means blameless. It transliterates to the word perfect, without spot, no blemishes. This is before Christ was born. This is before they were given the promise of the forerunner, which is John, the purifier, right? So they both was righteous before Yahweh. They was at their elderly age. So all their life, they honored the law, statutes, and commandments. And it says that they were blameless. Come on, family. So these 144,000 men, they were not with women. They were sealed with the law, statutes, and commandments. They were blameless. They had no guile. They did not lie. They did not try to bend and twist the law, statutes, and commandments. So guess what? It's looking kind of bleak, right? When we say, hey, well, man, you mean to tell me it's only going to be 144,000? Listen close. I'm going to give you clarity. Right? So there was no iniquity found in Zacharias. There was no iniquity found in his wife, Elizabeth. Let's deal with the Hebrew definition of the word iniquity. It says here to crook, make crooked, to pervert, do perversely, perversely, do perversely, do wickedly, do wrong, bend, twist, distort. And then when we look at iniquity in the Greek, look at this here. Violation of the law, wickedness, transgression of the law. That's what iniquity means. So you cannot say that you are part of the 144,000 and you're violating the law. You have no integrity. That's what it means to be perfect, to have what? Biblical integrity. Integrity is not when you're around a group of people, a large amount of people. Do you have integrity in those quiet spaces when you're by yourself? Do you have the integrity to refrain for certain behaviors when you're by yourself? Come on, family. Come on, family. So the 144,000, they are virgins. They are men, right? They are virgins. But what does it mean to be a virgin, right? Does it simply mean a young woman, right? Wrong. We just proved that. These were they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. And when we go to the Greek definition of this word, look at what it says. A maiden, by implication, unmarried daughter, right? But then it goes on to say, entry number 2, a man who has abstained from all uncleanness and whoredom attendant on idolatry, and so has kept his chastity. Guess what? Newsflash for those that are operating in polygamy. Guess what? You are not you're not in a polygamous relationship. A polygamous relationship is you're married to multiple women legally. If you are married to more than one woman in this country, you are considered a bigamist and it's against the law. So you are not married to anyone. You are operating as a glorified term, girlfriend and boyfriend, a pimp, a schemer. Why? You fall right up under what? That lustful flesh. Let me just leave that alone. I may mess up some people here, right? I may make some people want to throw some chairs around. Family, don't listen to people when they say that, hey, they're in a polygamous relationship. No, they're not, because polygamy is not legal in this country. They are operating in as girlfriend and boyfriends, pimps, with this lustful flesh. So they're definitely not part of the 144,000. Come on, family. Don't let these so-called people call themselves trying to manipulate you, saying they dealing with they operate in polygamy. No, they're not. No, they're not. You can only be married to one woman at a time. One woman. Only one woman. And in order to marry another woman, you have to divorce that woman. If these guys talk about they practice in polygamy, tell them that they go down to the court system and show their papers, because we still have to honor the laws of the land. These are what the scriptures talks about. Timothy talks about. Paul writes to Timothy saying, these are those that are creeping into homes, right? Seducing silly women. In other words, what that means is young-minded women who's not really astute with the law, statutes, and commandments. Anyway, let me leave that alone. Let me leave that alone. See my sister Carol in the house. All right. So as you see here, it's not just a young girl, or no, it's a man and a woman who has abstained from all uncleanness and whoredom, attended on idolatry, and so has kept his chastity. In other words, has his flesh under submission. One who has never had intercourse with women. How come you don't hear none of these people bringing this in-depth definition out? Why? Because they are operating in the lustful spirit. So a great multitude accompanied the 144,000. So we already dealt with the 144,000. Guess what? I would say it's probably safe to say, if not everyone on this chat, for us, every man that's watching this, guess what? We're not part of that 144,000. But guess what? All hope is not lost. Why? Because look at this great multitude. That's the part that many miss it. It says a great multitude accompanied the 144,000. So it wasn't just the 144,000. It was a great multitude. Okay. Now here's the kicker. We got to break down this great multitude. Let's break down this great multitude. And I can tell you emphatically, it's not the church. I can tell you it's not Christianity. It's not Catholicism. We're going to get clarity with who is this multitude. Here we go. Come on, family. Let's get it in. All right. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 7. We're going to start at verse 9 and we're going to go down to verse 10. It says, after this, I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man can number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hand. Wait a minute. I hope y'all grab this major nugget, right? I hope y'all grab this major nugget. These are Israelites. Look at this key point right here. And I want you to underline this inside your Bible. Do you see this right here? I'm zooming it in. Y'all see that right here? It says they have palms in their hands. This is not dealing with Palm Sunday. This is not dealing with Lent. This is not dealing with Ash Wednesday, because pretty much what you see that they're using for Lent for Ash Wednesday, right? That's the palms, the palm leaves that they had carry over from the previous year. So what does this mean, family? What does this mean? These are Israelites. Now we're going to have to give proper clarity of what that about the palm here, because it said they have palms in their hands. So we know that we're not dealing with the church. We know that we're not dealing with Palm Sunday. What are we dealing with right here? Let me break it down. Verse 10, and cry with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our Yahweh. Guess what? This song right here, I want y'all to make sure y'all understand. Salvation to our Yahweh. Actually, this is the song Hosanna. They're singing Hosanna, salvation to our Yahweh, which sitteth upon the throne, unto the Lamb. When you break this down, this is the Hosanna. Let's break this down, family. Let's break this down. And cry with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our Yahweh, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. Guess what? You see, it's Yahweh that's sitting on the throne, and the Lamb is next to him. That's messing a lot of people up. Right? Christ, King of Kings, right? But guess what? He's under the authority of the Most High, Yahweh, the Father, sitting at the throne. He is the one that's sitting on the throne. Oh, let me, I know I'm messing some theologies up right now. And cry with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our Yahweh, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. But look at this. Is the great multitude Israelites? I gotta answer that question. I gotta answer this question, family. I gotta answer this question. I gotta answer it. Again, it said, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our Yahweh. Family, we got to understand what salvation is. We're going to break that down here in a second. So what's the significance of the great multitude having palms in their hand? What's the significance in that? Are they celebrating Lent? Guess what, family? They are not celebrating Lent. So let's give a garbage can for anyone that may think that this has anything to do with Lent. Lent is not biblical at all. So let's give a garbage can to anyone that think that they celebrate. Piece. And let's give them their order to go. All right, so they're not dealing with Lent here, okay? Let's go to Exodus chapter 31, starting at verse 13. This is important, family. Make a note of this inside your Bible. Make a note of this, family, so you could go back and you could confirm everything that I read here. This is key right here. This is key. Let's go to Exodus, right? Let's go to Shamwath, right? Let's go here. Exodus chapter 31, verse 13 through 18. Let's go here. This is important. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily my Shabbaths, right? It will be Shabbath-wath, right? In the Israeli Shabboth, Shabbath or Shabboth, however you want to say it. But in the ancient Hebrew is Shabbath-wath, right? But anyway, it says, verily thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily my Shabbaths, Shabbath-wath, ye shall keep, shamar, cross out keep, and write and execute. Let me say that again. Cross that word keep out and write the word execute. Let me say it one more time. Cross out that word keep, right? And write and execute. I'm gonna put an animation here to make sure, right, that you actually see it on the screen doing that, right? Because shamar doesn't just simply mean keep. The key is it means to execute. For it is a sign, awath, between me and you throughout your generation. See, it's saying here, the Most High making it clear. He's not dealing with the other nations. He's telling Israel, this is the Shabbats, right? The 7th-day Shabbat, right? And also what? The feast days. They are also Shabbats. When you read Leviticus chapter 23, it's saying that, hey, ye shall keep, ye shall execute, Israel, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doeth sanctify you. And signs, awath, right? This word means proof. It means evidence. Let's go to verse 14. Ye shall keep the Shabbat, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. Verse 15, 6 days. See, breaking it down on that 7-day Shabbat, right? It says 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Shabbat of rest. Holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work on the Shabbat day shall surely be put to death. Verse 16. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbat, and to observe the Shabbat throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. So again, this has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with the other nations, because sometimes we can be like big kids. right? Well, the other nations, such and such, is not doing it. No, the Most High is not dealing with the other nations. He's dealing with Israel. Don't worry about who's doing it and who's not doing it. You make sure that when you stand before the Most High, you are blameless. That 144,000, guess what? They're blameless. They're not worrying about, concerned about what whoever or whatever is doing it. No, you honor it. Don't use what the pastor's doing to be an excuse for you. Don't use it as an excuse for some of these YouTube channels that is teaching against the feast days, that's coming up with all kinds of excuses. No, the Most High saying, no, don't use that as an excuse. Wherefore the children of Israel shall execute the Shabbat. The Shabbat means what? Celebrate. It's not just rest, but also celebrate. Celebrate who? The Father. To observe the Shabbat throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. Here's the kicker. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days, Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. But I'm going to take it to verse 18. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai. What is it? 2 tables of testimonies, tables of stone, written with what? Written with who? His finger. Written with the finger of Elohim, Yahweh Elohim. So the commandments is not from Moses. The laws is not from Moses. You know, the church, they quick with throwing labels on stuff by saying that's the law of Moses. We're not under the law of Moses. No. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh, so a man live. That's what Christ quoted, right? In Luke chapter 4, as well as Matthew chapter 4. But to confirm what he was speaking on, you have to go to Deuteronomy chapter 8. You'll see that that word is the commandments. We'll do a special teaching on that because it makes it clear. He told Israel, he had them go through what they went through to see if they were going to keep the commandments. And that what? Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word, dabar hakorash, dabar, command, as well, that comes out of the mouth of Yah, so a man liveth. That's the word. So these commandments, those 10 commandments, that's the covenant right there. These are from the Most High. Let me say that again. These are from the Most High, written with the finger of Elohim. So let's go to Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 18. Look at what it says here, right? So we can't use any excuses here. But I said unto the children of Israel in the wilderness, walk ye not in the statutes of your fathers, neither observe their judgments, nor defile yourself with their idols. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Walk in my statutes. Look at here. It's telling Israel right here, walk ye not in the statutes of your father. In other words, traditions. Don't live in the traditions of men. Throw away that Christmas. Throw away Easter. Throw away St. Patrick's Day. Throw away all these man-made holidays. Throw away all these traditions, family traditions. No, don't walk and be committed to those things. That's what the church is committed to. What? The institution of men. The system of men. They addicted to the mark of the beast, right? It says, walk ye not in the statutes of your fathers. Don't use it as an excuse of what your parents had done. It says, walk not in the traditions, the statutes of your father, neither observe their judgments. Don't be concerned of how they're going to judge you, nor defile yourselves with their idols. But it says here, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them. And hallow my Shabbats. Look at here, Shabbat Wath. And they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, your Elohim. So we see that the Shabbat is what? A sign. The feast days are what? A sign. This is taking us all the way back to what we saw, that the multitude, this great multitude, have palms inside their hand, because you know that palm represents what? It ties into a feast day. That's why many don't understand, even in the church, because they don't honor feast days. It's not even stressed to even think about the feast days. So that's why many don't truly understand the text. And I'm talking about people from within the pulpit. I'm talking about leaders in the pulpit. So hallow my Shabbats. In other words, Quadash. Hallow, Quadash. Make it holy. And hallow my Shabbats. Quadash, my Shabbats. Shabbat wath. And they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, your Elohim. All right? So guess what? On the 10th of this month, right? The first month, this is the very first Hebrew calendar. When you go off the facts that the Israelites, the ancient Israelites, they had 30-day months, right? And when you really understand the fullness of it, right? And you get the dates, this is coming out of Exodus. When I'm not going to get into it, I'm going to do a special lesson. I do it every year, reconstructing the calendar. We'll do that again. If for those that want to get ahead of it, it's some lessons in the foundational playlist on how to reconstruct the first Hebrew calendar, and you'll understand where I'm going at here. So on the 10th day of the month, the first month, this is the first month, right? On the 10th day, that's where the lamb is secured, right? On the 14th day of the month, that's the Passover and the day of preparation, right? The day of preparation, right? You're preparing for this high holy day right here. This is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a week of celebrations. So this would be a Shabbat, right? And then that 7th day Shabbat here, the traditional Shabbat, that's another Shabbat. So there's multiple Shabbats. Anyway, so let's break this down again. Let's bring it forward. So Hamashiach entered the city on a donkey, which would have been on what? A Shabbat. He entered the city. And that means they also had what? Palms in their hand, right? Celebrating his entrance into the city. On the 14th, the Passover, day of lynching. After the Shabbats, because that's what the scripture says, especially when you read it in the Greek, you'll see that it's after the Shabbats, right? You'll see Sabbaton, right? Which means after these Shabbats, after these multiple Shabbats, the Marys arrive at the sepulchre early in the morning at the crack of dawn, and Hamashiach was already gone. He wasn't resurrected. He didn't wake up or was resurrected on the Sunday morning. He was resurrected on what? The Shabbat. Remember, Israelites, the Shabbat is what? A sign. It is proof. It is evidence that the Most High used for who? His people. So he was lynched on this day, the 14th. So let's count it out. 1, 2, 3. Guess what? On the 3rd day, that's when he rose. Anyway, family, let's go ahead and keep it going. Right? Again, this is the first day of the unleavened bread, which is a high holy day. And then we have the 7th-day weekly Shabbat all in the same week. Okay? So let's prove this. Let's go to John chapter 12, starting at verse 12. Let's go to here. Let's see if this ties into the feast days, right? And let's see what songs that they were singing, right? Remember, this 144,000, they have a special song that they could sing that no man would know, right? But we also see that the multitude, they were crying out salvation to who? Yahweh. Look at this here. On the next day, much people that were come to the feast. Wait a minute. So we see that they're gathering for what? The feast. What feast are they gathering for? Passover, Pasach. When they heard that Yahushua was coming to Jerusalem, took branches of palm trees. There we see they got palms in their hand, and went forth to meet him and cried, Hosanna! Blessed is the King of Israel that cometh in the name of Adonai. And Yahushua, when he had found a young donkey, I'm going to just say it, young donkey, young horse, young mule, whatever you want to say. I'm not going to say this here. Sat thereon, as it is written, fear not the daughter of Zion. Behold, thy king cometh sitting on a donkey, right? Verse 16, these things understood not the disciples at first, because you know how it goes. Sometimes you can be so focused at doing the work that you miss. Things don't hit you like it hit everyone else. It could be a delayed response. It says these things understood not his disciples at first, but when Yahweh Shai was glorified, then remembered they that these things were written of him and that they had done these things unto him. So now we have to understand what was written. What was written, right? These people, therefore, that was with him when he called Lazarus out of the grave and raised him from the dead, bear record. All right, so we see it's describing, right, some of the multitude. You had those that was there that been following Christ. These are not the ones that said crucify him, kill him. There was two types of crowds that was there among the Israelites. These people knew that Christ was Hamashiach. They knew that he performed these miracles. As it says here, they were there when he called Lazarus to come out of his grave. That's why it says, and raised him from the dead and bear record. They got the palms in their hand. But then you had another group of people. For this cause, the people also met him. So there's another group of people among this multitude. For that they heard that he had done this miracle. So you had those that witnessed the miracles, witnessed what Christ was doing, and then you had others that was just out there for entertainment. They just following the crowd. They just going with the flow. They didn't witness the actual miracles. They heard about it, and so they came to kind of bear witness, right? To be as a form of entertainment. But nevertheless, it says here in that passage, the next day much people that were come to the feast. So we see here that during the Palm, that whole celebration on the 10th, that is where the lamb is selected, right? But they're there with Christ entering in the city as they preparing for what? The Passover. That's what they're preparing for, the Passover, as well as the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So a great multitude of Israelites pressed into Jerusalem to honor the Passover, Pasach. Now let's go back to John chapter 12, verse 13. Look at this. Took branches of palm trees and went forth to meet him and cried, Hosanna, blessed is the King of Israel that cometh in the name of Adonai. And it said the disciples thought about like, wait a minute. It's written about this. We know the scriptures. The scriptures have written about this time. Let's go here. Let's see what the scriptures that they're making reference to. Took branches of palm trees, went forth to meet him and cried, Hosanna. Greek definition of a Hosanna. Let's see what it means. It says here, oh, save, Hosanna. Wait a minute. It says, oh, save, Hosanna. Let me say it one more time. Oh, save, Hosanna. Hosanna means, oh, save. Okay? So Hosanna is the combination of two Hebrew words. The Hebrew words Yasha'ah or Yasha and Anah. Yasha'ah, Anah. Yasha'ah, Anah. So the Hebrew definition of Yasha or Yasha'ah, let's break it down. Look at what it says. This is what salvation actually means, family. Because I know growing up in the church, many would just say salvation. When you ask them, what is salvation? Most can't even define what salvation is. They'll just say Jesus. He died for our sins. That's salvation. Being saved. Well, what does it mean? That's being saved. That doesn't really say much. Well, this is what salvation truly means. Yasha, it says, to be open, right? Wide or free. To be safe, avenging, defend, deliver, deliverer, help, preserve, rescue, be safe, right? Salvation, bring salvation, having salvation, save, savior, get victory. And then when we go to na or ana, right? Let's see what it means. Incitement and entreaty. I pray now, then. I beseech thee. In other words, pray thee, you go to now. Oh, now let's bring this all together. So it says that they took branches of palm trees and went forth to meet him and cried, Hosanna, right? So the people cried out, Oh, save me. That's what they're crying out. Oh, save me. Oh, rescue me. Oh, help me. Oh, deliver me. Oh, preserve me. So blessed is the King of Israel that cometh in the name, the reputation of Yahweh. Not only did the people cry Hosanna, in other words, Anah, Hawashayah, they were actually shouting Psalms, the 118th book of Psalms, verse 25 and 26. Let me say that again. They were shouting out, and this is what came to the memory of the disciples, and they really start realizing what was going on. Look at this here. Let's read it. The 118th book of Psalms, starting at verse 25. Look at this here. Save now, I beseech thee. In other words, Ana'ah, oh, Na'ah, Yahweh. Oh, Na'ah, Yahweh, I beseech thee. Ana'ah, send now prosperity. Blessed be he that cometh in Ba'ah, the name Sham, Yahweh. Blessed, we have blessed you out of the house of Yahweh. Come on, family. This is the actual Hebrew passage. This is actually verse 25. This is what they're singing here. Ana'ah Yahweh, Hawashayah, Na, Ana'ah Yahweh, Ha, Salah Yalak, oh, excuse me, Ha, Salayak, Ha, Na'ah, or Na, however you want to pronounce it, because these are two letters. So you won't just drop the last that's when you start getting into another teaching. I'm not going to get into that tonight, but this would be Na'ah, right? Because you're pronouncing the Nan and the Alap. They're not silent, right? The Alap is not silent. So that's why you hear me say Na'ah, right? So it'd be Na'ah, Yahweh, Hawashayah, or Hawashayah, Na'ah, Ana'ah, Yahweh, Ha, Salah, Yalka, right? Na'ah. Come on, family. This is what Israel was singing. Come on, family. If you really want to add this to your prayer life, man, you can add this to your prayer life. This is what they were shouting. This is what they were on that day, on that 10th day, or on the day that the Lamb was being selected. This is what they were singing. And let's go to Save Now. Let's go to the Ernest Klein Etymological Dictionary. This is more of an advanced book dictionary, because you have different books. You have I'm not going to get into all that, but look at what it says here. Mawa Sha'ah, right? Mawa Sha'ah. I'm just saying in ancient Hebrew because, of course, they'll make this into a vowel letter. So I'm not getting into all of that in the Israeli. But it says deliverance, salvation, occurring in Psalm 68:21 in the plural, and it gives the word here, but it says saving acts, formed from Yasha or Yasha'ah, means to save. Okay, so we just knocked it down here, family, and it says with prefix and first suffix ha. Right, so that's where we get the word going back here. Right, this is where we get Hawashayah, right? And just what we're breaking down here from Ernest and Klein Etymology Dictionary. But anyway, so Israel selected the lamb on the 10th day of the first month, which was on a Shabbat. The Messiah was celebrated and the Redeemer, on the 10th day of the first month, which was on the Shabbat. Israel, the great multitude, celebrated Yahweh and the Lamb with palms in their hands, singing songs of salvation. Hosanna, in other words, Ana'ah, Hawashayah, on the 10th day of the first month, which was on the Shabbat. Come on, family. Man, man, we just dropped the mic on here. So the multitude, guess what, family? Even though we may not be the part of the 144,000, because we know we already gave the criteria of what the 144,000 consists of, But we part of that great multitude, and we're honoring Shabbat. Come on, family. We're honoring the law, statutes, and commandments. So we gave clarity on the great multitude, and we gave clarity on the 144,000. Family, these feast days that we're preparing for, guess what? We're preparing for the Passover, Pesach. Man, don't let anyone talk you out of it. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. Don't let anyone make you start questioning yourself about honoring the law, statutes, and commandments. I just proved it that guess what? You can. We all can. If you want to be perfect, guess what? You have to honor the law, statutes, and commandments. That is what it means, integrity. You can't say you have integrity. You can't say you're blameless if you not honoring the law, statutes, and commandments. You can't say you part of the multitude if you disregard the feast days and you're not honoring the law, statutes, and commandments. You can't say you honoring Christmas and you part of the multitude. No, we are Israelites, family. We are Israel. We are Israelites. And family, there's something special about you. I want to say shout outs to Boom, Ohio. I want to say shout outs to Pastor Dakota. Really appreciate what you're doing. Maury Dakota, really appreciate all what you're doing. And we're going to come out there pretty soon because I'm planning on coming to visit you guys. And we're planning for a big celebration. And by the time we get to the tabernacles, my goal is to have phase one of our property cultivated, because I want to make sure I get you down here. But family, I hope and pray that this helps you. I hope and pray that this gave you clarity. And real quick, for those that are just joining in, and I know I didn't explain this image here. This image is from the Watchtower, right? Jehovah's Witnesses Watchtower. And what stood out about this particular image here, you see the brother man in the center. And you have all these religions, because you see Hinduism, you see the Catholic Church, you see Buddha, right? You see the Pentecostal, right? And also you see Judaism. And look at what they're forming. They're forming the five-pointed star. This is the artwork of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And look who's in the middle of it, trying to pull us every which way. And like I said, look at the points here. They're forming a five-pointed star. They know what they're doing, family. They know that we are Israelites. They know it. They know it. They want us to give up our our dirty dime, because they made our heritage to look like a dirty dime to us. They made it look like it has no value. They really wore our community out to where as though we have a low self-esteem, and that way we give up our dirty dime for their shiny nickel. They know that the value of us. That's why they all are trying to pull on us. And I get that story from, the story of the two brothers, right? The older brother and the younger brother. The older brother wanted to, get some ice cream, right? And he knew how much it cost. He saw his little brother who had a dirty dime. The older brother had a shiny nickel. So he went to his little brother, who didn't understand the value that he had. He went to his baby brother. He said, "Hey, look, I trade my shiny nickel. I trade my nickel for your dime." Initially, the little brother said no. He said, "Why?" He said, "Look, my shiny nickel." He said, "Look how it's shiny. It's new. It looks better than yours. It's bigger." So the little brother said, "Wait a minute." He said, "Okay." So he gave him his dirty dime in exchange for a shiny nickel. Mom comes home and took them to the store. So they both go to the freezer. Y'all know the bodegas, and they both pull out a freeze pop. And the freeze pop costs 10 cents. They get up to the register. So they pull their money out. The older brother pulled his money out, pulled that dirty dime out, and got his freeze pop. The baby brother pulled out his shiny nickel and tried to use it to pay for his freeze pop, and was told that he didn't have enough. And his mother told him, "What happened to your dirty dime? I mean, what happened to your dime?" He said, "My brother tricked me. He told me that my nickel was worth more." And the mother said, I told you to learn how to count. I've been telling you to learn how to count, understand what you have. In the end, the mother did not give him another nickel. She used that as a lessons learned. So family, that's what all these religions, that's what our oppressors are doing. They know that we are special. They know that that no one can sing like us. No one can teach like us. No one can worship like us. They know that's why there's a special entry for the word gospel with our names, with our characteristics right there, right? They know this. So this is why they want to have us forfeit the benefits, forfeit our benefits package that the Most High laid out for us. So family, don't give up your dirty dime. You hold on to your dirty dime. Don't allow these religious systems, these systems of men, have us in the center of all this confusion and you ready to just give up, get so worn out that you forfeit with the very thing that the Most High has given us the front seat to. Hold on to your dirty dime. Let them have their shiny nickel. So with that being said, family, let me see here. Want to make sure that we still good. If you guys can still hear me, type 1. I'm seeing a message come up in my browser. If you guys can still hear me, type 1. Your browser has lost connection to your camera. Make sure you're all right. If you guys can still hear me, type 1. All right. Okay, good. Because I saw some message come up in my browser. But with that being said, family, really appreciate you guys. We'll do a special lesson on Passover. We'll spend next week. We'll do 2 lessons. We'll do a lesson on how to recreate the calendar so you guys know how to, determine the feast days. But we're going to also really walk you through understanding the Passover, how to honor the Passover. It's really not hard. It's not hard. When you really don't want to do something, you make it hard. Does that make sense? When people don't really want to honor the Passover, they try to make it harder than what it really is. Honoring the Passover is very simple. It's these religions, these systems of man, like Judaism, has made it complicated, and it's really not complicated. So with that being said, family, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Really appreciate you guys for the love and support. And if you subscribe to the channel, double check to make sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, because YouTube has been unsubscribing subscribers. I've been getting emails of those asking me why did I remove their accounts. I didn't do it. YouTube has been doing that. If you're not subscribed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and the pinned comment there for those that are interested in celebrating Passover Pasach with us. There's a link that's pinned at the top of the chat. You click on that link, that'll give you all the information. Get registered. We're going to have a great time. We're looking forward to celebrating and bringing in the feast day with our brothers and sisters, with you guys. All right. So with that being said, family, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. In the words of the Most High that he gave to Moses in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14, he said to Moses to tell the people to fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. The Hebrew word that's in that text is not shalom. Some of you guys would say shalom, right? That's not what you will see inside that text. What you will see is the word karash, which means be quiet. Sometimes we have to understand the importance of moving in silence. When Israel had to walk around the Jericho for 6 days, one time, and then on the 7th day, multiple times, before they even let out a shout, they had to walk around it in silence. So that's what it says there. The Most High will fight for us, but we have to what? Be quiet. Calculated silence. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.